Welcome to Why Should I Invest? Developed by the International Collegiate Angels Network, or ICAN. At ICAN, we believe that campus-born ventures are today's most underappreciated asset class. Each podcast will spotlight a campus-born founder and the venture they're building. I'm going to ask the tough questions that investors would want to ask. Welcome to another episode of Why Should I Invest? I'm Dr. Tom Duening. Today, I'm joined by Jonathan Wies and Gwen King. They are the founders of a company called MyMech. And MyMech is developing a platform to help 18 to 30-year-olds better understand their cars to improve car maintenance. Wow, I can understand how that's an important development and an important product. So why don't you give us a little background on yourselves and how you came up with the idea for the company? Start with Jonathan.
Thanks for having us. I'm a non-traditional student who came back and finished a second degree in political science, about to start my MBA this fall at the University of Colorado Boulder. And I got into MyMech because I met Gwen last fall as we did this as part of our capstone project. Okay. And looking forward to the rest of today.
Yeah, great. Hey, Gwen, give us a little bit on your background.
Yeah, thanks for having us. So I met Jonathan in our senior capstone, and that's kind of what drove us to start MyMech. But I've had a lot of issues with my personal vehicle. How do I fix this? I'm all stressed out, this mechanic's yelling at me, and I don't know what he's saying or whatever's going on. So I was like, well, there's got to be a better solution. There has to be something we can do to help solve this problem. And the more I talked to people, the more I found that a lot of people had that problem where they felt like there wasn't a good place to go to learn. So that was kind of the driving behind MyMech.
Okay, well, I love it when a personal story lies behind the product. Usually that means there's passion in there as well to solve a problem, a real problem. So MyMech, tell us where you are in the product development roadmap.
Yeah, so we're kind of in between concept and MVP. Neither of us are technical founders, but we also are in a bootstrapping type of mentality. I'm currently working on the patentable portion of the product and getting ready to do the patent application in a provisional manner. Concurrently, we are working on our trademark for our branding and currently interviewing individuals to come on as full-time coders or those who have expertise in artificial intelligence, machine learning, all those fields.
Okay. So between concept and MVP, I get that. I understand that stage. So why don't you give us a typical use case? And Gwen, maybe you put it in the context of your own personal experience and where MyMech would fit in and help me solve some kind of a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So basically what would happen, we're thinking, is you would hear noise or your car feels weird. So something's wrong and you're trying to figure out what to do with it. So we tell you to pull over, go or in your driveway, find a safe spot, and you can open up like the hood of your car. You can use the app to scan the engine. It'll ping parts for you, say, you're hearing this noise. This is where it is in your engine, and this is what you should look for, So it'll give you that first step before you go to the mechanic, and it'll give you a rating too. So it'll say, you should get back on the road. You really shouldn't get back on the road. You should go to a mechanic. You should get the car picked up and towed. It'll give you that kind of sense too. So the idea is that it's your first step before you go to the mechanic.
Okay, I've got a new car. It's 1 year old now, and it's still under warranty, and it's got all these things now that keep track of how the engine is performing, and I think it's even real time kind of feedback and everything. So I'm thinking that MyMech was maybe not designed for new cars, but for cars that are out of warranty. I mean, what is your impression of that?
Yeah, that's our thought. Is we're going to start with our college students. Like those who have older cars or those who are really learning. I don't have mom and dad to help me anymore. I don't have anybody to ask. So we're really looking at, I drive a 2011 Jeep, and my transmission went out on my drive to work last summer. And I had gone to the mechanic actually, and they had told me it was fine. They had said, we don't know what's wrong. Like, I know you say you feel this slipping or you feel this problem in acceleration, but we don't know, like, we can't replicate it. We can't figure it out. So then I ended up on the side of the road in the middle of Commerce City and left my car in a parking lot and walked the rest of the way into work because there was a loose bearing that was shredding my transmission. And I had mentioned it to a couple of like my technicians and stuff. I work for United Rentals actually, so I have a full shop of technicians, and they were mentioning, no, maybe it's your transmission, maybe it's just a loose screw, maybe it's this. So they had kind of already started that. I was like, well, it'd be awesome, if you had an app on your phone that would kind of start brainstorming with you and give you some ideas. So.
Well, that's interesting. And of course, it raises all kinds of questions for me because cars are so complex today. Even a 2011 Jeep is a very complex instrument. And so I know most mechanics have pretty sophisticated software tools and everything, diagnostic equipment. How do you think this will go beyond what's already available for most mechanics?
So the problem mechanics we've talked to have realized is they have to do a lot of digging on the internet through forums when the advanced diagnostics, one, it's clunky, two, it's not always accurate, and three, there's a communication gap we see between car users and how they describe or see a particular issue with their car to the mechanic.
Okay.
So the goal is integrating AI, the
Okay.
LLMs, and how that communication can be better facilitated. Now, you brought up your newer car. The way we see a potential future roadmap for MyMech is it can become a white glove service mechanics can offer, so they can call their car users or their clients and give these suggestions proactively.
Okay.
Or we're going to integrate OBD2 sensor and remotely they could potentially clear the codes without having to go into the mechanics. The biggest time savings is they have to research to look for parts a lot. So if
Yeah.
they know what parts they need to look for before the car is even brought in, the if it's not a safety issue, the
Yeah.
driver can still use the car before they take it in to get it fixed.
Yeah, interesting that you bring that up because I've got a friend that just bought a $90,000. I won't tell you the brand of the car, $90,000 car. In the first week he was driving it, he got all these error messages and everything, and he brings it into the car dealership that he bought it from, right? And he only had it for a week, less than a month, and nobody knows how to fix it. And so now they gave him a loaner car, and his car is sitting there. They can't figure out what to do with it. It's a software issue primarily. So I can understand that there's a need for better informatics and perhaps artificial intelligence in this space. And so now my question is, how are you going to cover all the different range of vehicles that are out there?
That is where working with the users becomes nice because the users will have the ability to upload the information they want to use. So if they already have their car manual for, let's say, like their 1965 Mustang, then that will be stored locally on their app, but it'll be able to be sent in a file to be retrieved off our AI.
Interesting, as you say, I actually had a 1965 Mustang. It was my very first car. It was a beautiful car. So what have you done in terms of customer validation? Have you talked both to mechanics and to car owners?
And Gwen can talk about the mechanics she worked with.
Yes. So a lot of my mechanics actually are colorblind. And so I was talking to them about a lot of times it is a software or it's a loose electrical wire and it's super small. And so part of MyMech too is it's bridging that communication gap, right? So they are all those little schematics for electrical wirings, those are all colored. And so if you're red, blue colorblind, it's really hard for them to do it. They need to call in somebody else, they need to come into the sales office or something and ask us what they're actually looking at. But MyMech, because it's on your phone with an AI driver in it, it can just tell you the color. Like it'll read it off the screen for you. which is easy for us to integrate. It's very similar to a lot of services that do that on your web pages. So we can just take that feature and put it into MyMech, so it's a lot more accessible for them.
Well, that's funny. Just to tell them what color the wire is going to help them be able to fix a vehicle. What about actual users? Have you talked to potential users? The people with vehicles that maybe are going to subscribe to this product?
We have, and there we see an opportunity within those who want to do self-maintenance, actually. Those who spend a lot of time, like the mechanics with those older cars and have to search for the parts on the internet, they're facing similar issues as they fix up those cars. So when they know what they need to fix, now MyMech can actually give not only detailed instructions on how to do the repair, since we'll have the manuals in there, we will also have parts identifier connected. So they'll know the parts they need to be looking for or the parts to order to better step-by-step walk them through the whole process.
Yeah, I can understand the parts. I had a buddy that had a business here in Houston years ago, and he had a big warehouse partage Italian sports cars. And this business was just amazing because there's so many enthusiasts out there that are looking for rare parts, and it's just very difficult to find them. He was just in that one category. Well, tell me about what you think is the market potential for this. Is this going to be primarily DIYers, or does this go beyond that as well?
This definitely goes beyond DIYers. I think our first clear opportunity is DIY because I think that's where we truly validate the AI, the machine learning, that improve the accuracy very rapidly. Long term, we see potential markets in B2B or B2B2C even, or MyMech is more the driver of the AI solution, and we become more of an AI platform that we can now license to other companies to incorporate into their own solutions.
Your beachhead market is going to be kind of the DIYers and so on. So who do you see as your competition in this space?
That is interesting because we have not found a true competitor. And this is talking with mechanics, this is talking with those who do DIY. One of our advisors has been to SEMA, has had his car shown. He has over 15,000 followers on Instagram. And he's like, yeah, technically fixed, and some of these OBD2 sensors are your competitors, but they still don't incorporate the way you want to give the information to the user. And on the mechanics side, a lot of these companies haven't started or even shown AI opportunities yet, but they're very expensive. So if an open source solution can be created, it's an untapped market.
You're seeking $1 million. Is that correct? That's what I have in my notes.
Up to.
Up
So
to $1
we see
million.
two goals. Yeah.
Okay.
We'd like to get to market as soon as possible because MBA, I don't really want to focus all my time during the first semester when it's a lot of work on the MBA. So at the low end, we're about 200,000. It'll be more limiting in what we can go for. Then our plan is use revenue to reinvest. Million would allow us to go more for that. Are we an AI company and not just a mechanic maintenance platform?
How would you use the investment? What would you use the funds for?
So we really would like to onboard CTO, full stack developer, caliber employee on top of some junior level AI ML researchers that can grow with the company. If we don't get up to the million, we would look for a good outsourcing opportunity and a team that can build the whole solution for us.
Okay. And what roles do you play, Gwen? What role do you play in the company?
So I play the role of a co-owner right now, really, and we're kind of talking about where's the line? What's Jonathan in charge of? What's I'm in charge of? Because a lot of times we just try to like tag team everything. But now we're kind of finding, okay, there's some days where Jonathan has more time and there's some days where I have more time. So I'm working a little bit more on the legal side right now and trying to figure out with our lawyers how much money we need to pay them and when does that money need to come and be liquid and when can it be a charge and kind of that kind of stuff. And I'm in the finances too. So I've been kind of investing usually about half my paychecks back into MyMech as they come in. And so I'm kind of managing that side of it too and figuring out what else we need to do. And then a lot of times I support Jonathan too. So I'm working full time right now. He's a little bit more hands on and in the weeds than I am. So I usually come up and we meet once or twice a week in Boulder and figure out what's our big problem, what's helpful for me to do a couple things over the weekend, and how can we figure that piece out too.
And Jonathan, you're primarily in charge of the product development. Is that correct?
Product development, yes. And I've also been coordinating with a company to help start our marketing baseline so we can start building a social media platform a lot more effectively.
Okay. And so I always like to end the show with this very simple question. Why should I invest?
It's a huge problem. And there's always going to be stuff to fix. Stuff is always going to break. I mean, if you see a huge change where nobody's driving a gas car, we'll go into the construction industry. They're not even diesel engines anytime soon. And you can't put somebody 250 feet in the air with an electric battery right now. It doesn't exist. And so I think that there's a ton of growth opportunity and there's a lot of interest in the sense that almost everybody has a story about their car or going to the mechanic that this experience was not fun or this experience could have been better. I mean, I don't think I've talked to a single person that is like, no, I love going to the mechanic. It's great every time. I always get my car back right away. I'm never out of the car. So I think there's so much opportunity for growth. And I don't think that we're at risk of ever becoming irrelevant. So that's why I would tell you to invest.
Jonathan, do you have anything to add to that?
No, Gwen said it very, very well. I think
she did.
We touch on two very clear aspects. Mm-hmm. We have a social benefit behind the company. It's like less stress on matters like cars, which are integral to every day of life in the US. I mean, that makes you a better, more fun person to be around. It makes you more productive at work. And on the other side is if you're not wasting money unnecessarily, now you can spend your money on other things, other activities that you've always wanted to do, which just stimulates the economy and makes everyone happier.
Well, that's well said. If people want to learn more about your company, you're at mymechapp.com. Is that correct? mymechapp.com. Today I've been talking with Jonathan Wies and Gwen King from MyMech. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
For more information about how you can get involved in the ICAN mission, please contact me directly via email at tomdenning@icanhub.net.